I have a question for you. When was the last time that you thought about dying? But more specifically, what happens when you die? Too many people out there are disregarding the concept and not thinking of the basically guaranteed fact that we're all going to die someday and we're all going somewhere. All of us are going somewhere. Some will cope that, oh, just being a good person, you be a good person, you'll be okay, do good things. And it's like, what if that place is hell? Have you even thought about it? Can you guarantee that simply doing a few good habits and deeds a day will make you exempt from this life? Everybody is so distracted. They don't think about these things. They don't think about the fact that they're going somewhere when they die, because they avoid that fact because they're scared of that idea. They're scared of the idea that they're going to die someday. They're going somewhere. But let me tell you, if you stop being scared and you face it, then it might be the best decision you ever make in your life. Because if you draw near to God, God will draw near to you. But if you don't make the effort, he'll just stay absent your whole life. And then no wonder why you don't believe in him, because he's not doing anything in your life. Satan, who's been our enemy since the beginning of time, will do his best to tell you that this doesn't matter. Don't waste your time thinking about this. Just enjoy your life. Just enjoy your life while you have it. Pleasure yourself. Oh, no, hell isn't real. He'll use any approach that you're most likely to fall for in order to increase your chances of going there when you die, because that's all he wants. And I could elaborate, but I've already elaborated every single video I've posted. Basically, there's a reason why Satan wants you to go to hell. But let me be the one to tell you, from someone who was once an atheist, this is not a joke. If you clicked on this video, I genuinely think it's for a reason. And it's about time that you actually take this seriously. Millions and even billions of people have been deceived. And I don't want you to go to hell, bro, because I love you. And I care about you. So no more coping. Give this video your full attention, full screen, everything. No scrolling on YouTube or Instagram. Full attention. In a little bit here, I will be sharing with you a testimony of somebody who actually had a vision of hell. Stay tuned for that. I know it sounds crazy, like somebody's been to hell, but it's a very authentic, very real speech. And yeah, he's not bullshitting. I can say that for a fact because everything checks out. So, but what is hell actually like? What would hell be like? Because some people have this assumption that's going to be like this party and this, nightclub in hell, and you and Satan are partying together. It's not like that at all, actually. Because bottom line is, Satan still hates you. To get back at God, he's going to make sure you go to hell and be tortured. Because you are made in the image of God. You are made in the image of God, and he hates God. So why would he party with you, bro? He hates you. He hates you. He only pretends like he doesn't to get on your side so that he can deceive you and convince you. When you hear how I'm going to explain hell, everything will start to make a lot more sense. Get rid of everything you've ever thought about hell, any preconceived idea or concept that you've had. Get rid of it and just listen to me right now. So this is the basis of what hell is. Hell is simply a place without God and without God's attributes. That's all it is. But let me elaborate. Everything we know is God. Everything God created, including us, is God, the embodiment of God. So hell is inevitably a very unnatural place for us to be. And if anyone chooses a life without God, then they can go to a place without God. It makes sense. But if God's attributes aren't in hell, if there is nothing of God in hell, then what would hell be like? Because we don't even know of a thing like that. Well, hell won't have any air to breathe. So when you try to breathe in air, you'll barely just get enough air to, I guess, survive. But you won't actually be able to breathe at all. It'll be worse than, according to some people, is worse than being an asthma patient. I have no idea what being an asthma patient would be like. I don't know what severe asthma is like. I have had like little fits because of like allergies or cold weather, and that was scary in of itself. So to imagine that, but like times a million, I mean, borderline suffocating for the rest of your eternity, forever. That is terrifying. Hell will be a place of anxiety and depression to a more heightened level than even you've ever experienced on earth. Hell will be a place of fear, and any phobia that you've ever had will actually be used against you to instill fear. So if you were, as sad as this is, if you were raped as in your life, then Satan will use that against you, and the demons will use that against you. As terrifying and as horrible that is to say, it is true. If you're scared of spiders, well, I don't know if there's spiders in hell, but demons can actually morph into like whatever they want to be. So maybe they'll just morph into a spider and terrify you. They do get pleasure out of doing these things. So maybe that's actually what they'll do. Who knows? Hell will be a place of no sleep. So you'll be tired, but you won't ever feel rested. You will never have the time or the ability to rest. You will constantly be tortured. And imagine a million years without being able to sleep. Like the inability to sleep would be What a what a wasting away that would be. A million years without being able to sleep, and you're just like this shell of what you even are supposed to be. Just like in heaven, how we're our maximum self, we're our heightened like spiritual self. In hell, we are reduced to nothing. We are living a shallow existence, if you even call it life at all. Hell won't have any water at all, but you'll be thirsty, and you'll get more thirsty as time goes on, just like how it is in life. Hell won't have any food, but you'll get hungry as time goes on. Hell will be very lonely because you won't be able to communicate with others. There's this like there's this tribal like thing in our brain that like, as long as we are suffering with other people, like it's not as bad. But if we're suffering alone, it's a lot scarier. Well, in hell, you suffer alone. Even though you might hear other people, you might see other people, which I don't even think you can see other people. We'll get into that later. You won't be able to communicate with anybody. You won't have the energy or the strength to even speak at all, let alone communicate with somebody else. And you'll be so tortured that you can't even think of the idea of talking to anybody else. In hell, there won't be any light at all, because God is light. God is the light. So in hell, it'll be complete darkness. According to some testimonies, the only light that you can see in hell is from the fire. But even the fire, you can't see through the fire. You can only see like the beginning of the fire, if that makes sense. In hell, you'll feel very weak, and any movement will be very hard, just like how it is in sleep paralysis. If you ever had sleep paralysis, it is really hard to like even move even a little bit. It takes a lot of effort to even move out of your position. And even in dreams, it's very hard. You probably notice in dreams when you're trying to punch somebody, it's like slow motion. You feel really weak. Again, that is hell. Hell is just weakness and fatigue and the inability to even move. And it's really interesting too, a little side tangent. I remember I used to watch a paranormal show as a kid with my parents, and I don't know if it was real or not. I don't remember. I could probably find out if it's real or not right now if I were to watch it. But it seemed very real. And some of the spirits, aka demons, in that show that they encountered, it was very hard for them to speak. It was very hard for them to talk, and it made great effort in very little words because it's so hard for them to talk. It takes a lot of energy. And I think that it's the same for us when we're in hell, is that it would take a lot of energy to talk. It's a little similarity I found interesting from my childhood when I used to watch that show. But God is our strength, and that's why in hell we won't have any strength at all. So it's quite literally just a place without God and any of God's attributes. And if we choose to live a life without God, then God will grant our wish essentially and send us to a place where there is no God. Low power mode. So essentially God will grant our wish by sending us to a place without God. But we have the free will to choose if we want God or if we want the devil. Even if it's a subconscious choice, even if it's seemingly unfair that we don't get to like see God show up and like, oh, God's real, okay, let's choose God. Because that wouldn't be true love, and God doesn't want, like, out of fear, he doesn't want you to submit to him. He wants it out of love for him and his ways and his way of life. I love peace, I love joy, I love doing good things, and that has brought me closer to God, and anything that is of God will bring you closer to God. But demons will use your free will against you to manipulate you that pleasure is better, and that you need pleasure, and that you need enjoyment, and that you need instant gratification, and that selfishness and all these things that aren't good, but it feels good in the moment, but long term it feels terrible, and it isn't good for your soul or your mind, and it sends you to a darker place and a downward spiral to where each time you're more likely to commit that same sin, that same evil, and eventually you get numb to it, and this is all you're doing is sin and evil, and your destination is hell. Why do demons want to do this to you? Because God created you in his image. And they hate God and his image, and they hate God's creation and his lifestyle and his way of doing things. That's why they rebelled in heaven in the first place. And so they will torture you because they want to get back at God. All right, my camera's running out of space, so let's do this really quickly. I'm going to transition to Bill Weese's testimony. I don't know if I'll react to it or if I'll just play it out. I'll probably just play it out, and that's it, and that'll be the end of the video. So I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye. Enjoy.
On November 23rd, 1998, I had an experience that truly changed my life. Now, it doesn't matter if you believe my experience. What matters is that you check out what the Word of God has to say about hell and avoid it just the same. This was not a near-death experience. This was actually an out-of-body experience that would be classified as a vision in the Bible. In 2 Corinthians 12:2, Paul, when he was caught up into heaven in a vision, he said whether in the body or out of the body, he didn't know. Well, the Lord showed me that I left my body. Now, my wife and I had attended a prayer meeting every Sunday night We came home from this prayer meeting, went to bed like any other normal night. Now, I had never studied the topic of hell at this point. I have never gone to dark movies. I've never drank. I've never taken drugs. And I never had a vision before. And I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning just to get a glass of water. And suddenly I was pulled out of my body, like being drawn up out of your body. And I found myself falling through the air down this long tunnel. And it was getting hotter and hotter. And then I landed on a stone floor in an actual prison cell in hell. Rough-hewn stone walls, bars, filthy, stinking, dirty prison cell, but like a dungeon. And I wondered, how did I get here? Why am I here? I was fully awake and cognizant. I looked up and I saw these two enormous beasts in the cell, these demons, reptilish in appearance, bumps and scales all over the one's body, huge jaw, sunken in eyes, claws about a foot long, and they were pacing in this cell like a vicious, caged animal, and they had the most ferocious demeanor about them. They had an extreme hatred for God. They were blaspheming and cursing God. And then they had this hatred they directed towards me. The one picked me up, threw me into the wall of this prison cell. I hit the wall. I felt like bones had broken. Even though a spirit doesn't have bones, it felt that way. I collapsed on the floor, and I wondered, how could I be alive through this? The other demon picked me up, dug its claws in my chest, and just tore the flesh open. I couldn't believe I was surviving this. How could I be alive through this? I noticed I had a body. Remember Luke 16, he wanted a drop of water to cool his tongue. He had a mouth to speak and so forth. But this body withstands the torments. And I noticed, though, there was no blood or water coming from the wounds. But Leviticus 17:11 says, the life of the flesh is in the blood. Well, there's no life in hell, so there's no blood. And there's not one drop of water in hell. And these demons have no mercy over you whatsoever. They have an extreme hatred for you. Now, about this time, it went dark. I believed it was God's presence there to illuminate it so I could see, but then He withdrew His light, and it resumed its normal state of absolute pitch black darkness. I mean, you could not see the hand in front of your face. While I was taken out of this prison cell, I was placed over next to this large, raging pit of fire that was actually about a mile across, with flames raging high up in this open cavern. And this is where I could first see people. There were thousands of people inside this pit screaming and burning. It was so horrendous to see a person on fire. They just looked like skeletons. And the screams were so loud and deafening. You want to get away from the screams, but you can't. Now, I understood I was down deep in the earth. I descended to get there. I ascended when I left. And I understood there were different levels of torment and degrees of punishment. But there is no tolerable, comfortable level in hell. Any area is far worse than you can imagine. I wanted to talk to a person, but you're kept isolated and alone for all eternity. You never, ever get to be with people. For all eternity, you're kept by yourself. You know, I thought about my wife up on the earth, and I understood I'll never get to say goodbye to her. You don't realize how tormenting of a thought that is. You know, I'll never get to be with my wife, enjoy her, hold her, and to not have any finality with your loved ones is extremely tormenting, that for all eternity, she'll never know that I still exist, that I'm down deep in the earth. You know, death does not mean cease to exist. Death means separation from God. You still exist. And I just missed her so much. I wanted to be with her so much. And the stench in hell is so foul and putrid, the worst, like the worst open sewer you can ever imagine. And the demons themselves have a disgusting foul odor to them, and the smell of burning sulfur. So you have to fight for even the tiniest bit of oxygen. You don't ever get to go to sleep. You're completely exhausted, and you never, ever get to go to sleep. You're hungry, you never get to eat. You're thirsty. Remember the rich man in Luke 16 wanted one drop of water to cool his tongue. Well, you never get that drop of water. The fear level that you experience in hell is so far beyond anything you can imagine, and I know something about fear. I was attacked by a 10-foot tiger shark, pulled down under the water. Well, that fear that I felt at that moment paled in comparison.